Welcome to Good Morning Transfers. The team have some huge names to talk about, including Paul Pogba, who's unlikely to go out of the headlines until his future is resolved one way or the other. Here's what else is coming up.
A week ago, Tottenham announced their club record signing, but I'm still expecting plenty of incomings and outgoings in the next few weeks.
From one side of North London to the other, and Arsenal are in talks to sign a new French wonder kid. We'll bring you all the news of the potential deal.
Neymar hasn't shown up for pre-season training. Paris Saint-Germain say he can leave the club. We analyse the situation and the suitors concerning the world's most expensive player.
We'll also be taking a look at the Championship and one of the busiest clubs that have already signed 4 new players. Punching for the Premier League. We'll have an update on the very latest.
News from Scotland as well as Kilmarnock sign a Juventus player. Remember, this is your show as well, so join the conversation online. Use the hashtag TransferTalk.
We're going to kick off with Tottenham. It's been a busy summer already, an exciting one actually if you're a Tottenham fan. Yesterday they handed new contracts to Harry Winks and Ben Davies. Now this Ben Davies one is interesting because it could have implications on the future of Danny Rose, who's also a left-back, not just because of the Davies deal, but also we understand that Ryan Sessegnon remains a target. Michael, I'm going to ask you in a moment what this could mean for Danny Rose, but viewers, get in touch, hashtag TransferTalk, on whether you think that Danny Rose Tottenham should be doing all they can to keep him this summer, or whether he should be made available. What do you think, Michael?
It's an interesting one with Danny. Whenever you speak, he's a reporter's dream. Whenever you get the opportunity to speak to him in a mixed zone, he's so incredibly honest. He gives you a fantastic soundbite. And he's a joy to speak to so many of the time. And he's played incredibly well under Mauricio Pochettino for many seasons now. He had a good season last season. He was Tottenham's #1 left-back. He has that whole left wing. He's like a left winger and left-back all in one. He bombs down there. But obviously, with Danny, he's very honest, very open. He's, you ask him about the season after, and he said, well, if I'm still here, which brings up a lot of debate whether he is going to still be here or not. Tottenham have had an interest in Ryan Sessegnon for some time. Obviously, he came into the Premier League last season with Fulham, which made it a deal that wouldn't be possible for any club. I believe that Spurs are still in for Sessegnon. They're very patient over securing a Sessegnon deal. Fulham are standing firm on their valuation around £40 million, which will obviously be up for plenty of debate as well. The way I see it at the moment is if someone came in for Danny Rose, Spurs would potentially listen. But as Danny Rose rightly says, I might not be here myself, so it's still very open. We
will get to that Sessegnon deal in a moment, but JD, Danny Rose is someone who I remember this time last year doing the Transfer Talk podcast, recording a new one this afternoon actually, available on the Sky Sports website and iTunes. I said that Danny Rose, the World Cup was going on, was the best left-back in the world, right? Now, whether you agree with that or not, I think we all agree that he's an excellent left-back. Yeah. Why would he be made available?
I think you have to look at probably the club. They should historically have a strategic sort of structure. When a player reaches a certain age, they will look at the availability of that player, and we all know we've seen it historically with Alderweireld and Dembele. It's usually around the 29-30 region, and Danny was, happy birthday to him, it was his birthday earlier in the week, so you could imagine naturally with Ben Davies, who's obviously a rival in that position, signing a new contract, that sort of speculation around his future would happen. But I've spoken to people that's close to Danny Rose, and Dave Chapman has spoken about his great relationship that he has with Pochettino and how happy he is in terms of what Pochettino has done for him. And I will always turn around and say, especially when you have characters like Danny, that relationship between him and his manager is very, very important to him and very, very important to where he plays his football. So knowing that, taking that into consideration, also the fact that he would have started in the Champions League final at the back end of last year, you can kind of see how this sort of situation can be resolved. Ben Davies and Danny Rose competing for the left-back position hasn't been a surprise. We've watched it happen.
The last few seasons, they've always shared it.
So why would that change at this point?
I didn't realise how long he'd been at Tottenham as well. 12 years.
Absolutely.
Joined in 2007. Yeah. He is someone who has seen the whole transition from a new training ground, a new stadium, and obviously Pochettino coming in. He's a massive part of the furniture there. So if he were to depart this summer, that would be huge.
Huge, yeah, absolutely. And I think he's played fantastic football under Pochettino. England's usual first-choice left-back as well. Gareth Southgate was a huge fan, even back at under-21 level. Look, we say potentially available for transfers. Spurs would listen to offers. Those offers might not potentially come in. There is interest, obviously, in Sessegnon, but that could drag on till the last few weeks as well. So it's a bit of a wait and see. But as I've said before, Danny Rose is such an honest footballer. And when I say in terms of honest, you get good sound bites out.
Yeah, that's quite interesting here as well. Scott, a Tottenham fan, says, who's been getting in touch, #transfer talk, we should be doing all we can to try to keep Danny Rose. He gets the club and plays with passion, would be gutted if he leaves. There's another one there saying that Danny Rose, this is from Kelvin, says that Danny Rose should be transfer listed. He has a lot of talent, but I don't think he's inconsistent at times, all right? So a bit of both, but most people are actually getting involved saying that he should stay. Another one as well, Benji, I think Danny Rose should stay and challenge for his place, which I think is what everyone's saying. But Anton, I do quickly need to ask about Ryan Sessegnon, because I promised that we would. We're talking about how Ryan Sessegnon might replace Danny Rose, but is Sessegnon even a left-back?
I'm not sure. I think there are... you look at when Ryan Sessegnon was in his best form, and this, when he was playing for Fulham when they came up in the Championship season, and he's playing on the left wing. And, I think he probably feels that creator, that freer side of his game is what probably wants to be developed, not necessarily that defensive. He played a couple of times at a fullback for Fulham last season, and it didn't quite work. With the Palace game, wasn't it? He kind of got a little bit exposed a little bit as well. So I'm not sure will he be a like-for-like replacement, to be honest. We are in the age of the attacking fullback. Now, whether Tottenham see him as the future in a couple of years' time to potentially take over in that kind of, creative fullback kind of role, I don't know. But if you're looking for a like-for-like replacement right now, Ryan Sessegnon isn't the player. And I don't think Tottenham would put him in that position either. No. But going back to sort of JD's point about Tottenham's business model, and when players get to a certain age, and you've got to look at some stats around Danny Rose as well. And last season his tackle success rate is down on his average. His crossing accuracy is down slightly as well. The number of 50-50 he's winning is slightly down. And Tottenham will be looking at this and going, when is his resale value at its peak, and when will it start to wane? And clearly that's a decision Tottenham have to make this summer.
Okay, yeah. Danny Harvey saying Danny Rose still has a place at Tottenham and can be great for incoming Sessegnon progression. Good point there from Danny. Right, let's get the state of play with Dave.
Yes, this is what else is happening across the window this morning. Paris Saint-Germain sporting director Leonardo is prepared to sell Neymar after the club released a statement saying they would take appropriate action after the Brazil forward failed to turn up for training. Neymar's father, who is also his agent, responded by telling Brazilian media that PSG were informed last month that his son intends to return on Monday, following commitments to his charity in Brazil. Brentford have signed Swedish defender Pontus Jansson for an undisclosed fee. He initially joined Leeds on loan in August 2016 from Torino before signing permanently in 2017. The centre-back went on to feature 120 times for the club in all competitions, scoring 9 goals. We're going to talk about him a little bit later on as well. Celtic manager Neil Leonard admits he was not satisfied with Olivier Ntcham's transfer comments and says he will speak to the midfielder about his mindset. The 23-year-old was quoted as saying he was disappointed not to have moved to Porto last season, while admitting he was flattered about speculation linking him with Marseille. Hearts manager Craig Levein has confirmed that Arnaud Djoum won't be returning to Tynecastle. The midfielder rejected the offer of a new deal in favour of a move to Saudi Arabian club Al Raid.
Right, OK, so lots going on there with Dave in state of play. There's also lots going on with Paul Pogba. Actually, no, there's not that much going on with Paul Pogba, but maybe there should be. Let's just explain the situation. His future at Manchester United looks set to be one of the transfer talking points of the summer. His agent, we know, has said that he wants to leave the club, but for now, the midfielder is part of the squad in Australia for pre-season. One thing of note, though, in Perth is this footage between Pogba and Jesse Lingard. OK, now Lingard and Pogba seem to have a little bit of an altercation before Victor Lindelof steps in, calms things down. Don't really know what to make of that, if we're honest. We're absolutely right to show you it, but it's up to you at home to decide whether that was staged, genuine, something or nothing. That's up to you. But what I do want to ask the transfer team, and I'll come to you, Mark, his future, we're talking about it every day. We're talking about it because we should be. But from Manchester United's point of view, would it be best to just have this settled one way or another? Either Pogba comes out and says, I want to stay, and everything else that's been said about me is wrong, or Manchester United go, do you know what? You can go. This is the price. Someone come in for him.
This is always the fascinating thing about these transfers, isn't it? Sometimes it drags on and on and on, and a player could come out in 10 seconds and stop it dead. he comes out on social media and says, I want to stay at Manchester United, I'm going nowhere, then we stop talking about it, don't we? And this is the problem for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United. If this does not get nipped in the bud soon, this is going to become an ongoing saga throughout the course of the transfer window, right up till August the 8th on deadline day, where you've got his agent, you've got his friends, you've got other people talking about Paul Pogba, when really everyone should be talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, all these exciting young players that have gone to the club, and how can they challenge Man City and Liverpool. Instead, we're talking about an individual, by the way, who is a top-class, world-class player and a World Cup winner, but we should be talking about the football and not whether he's coming, staying or going. And it's going to be a massive distraction, because you get the feeling that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, throughout the course of this window, will be constantly asking questions about Paul Pogba.
Well, that's right. Actually, he's got a news conference tomorrow morning. I think it's 5:30 English time. We'll bring you the best of that tomorrow morning. And he's going to be asked about this. He's going to be asked about that video. He's going to be asked about Pogba. Probably the first question, well, after this token, are there any injuries? But in terms of the actual players around him in pre-season, JD, while all this is going on, can they really cut that out when a player so big is so heavily linked with a move away?
I think it's difficult to cut out the distractions. I mean, as much as the players would right now be in their pre-season bubble and want to say that we're going to cut out all media, we're going to cut down on social media, we're going to really focus on getting ourselves right for the beginning of the season, it's difficult when it's in the headlines every single day. And every single day, it's nothing for footballing reasons. It's not that they started great on their pre-season tour. It's always speculation about whether or not this person's going to be here, or are we bringing in this person? That is so unsettling to a team that's supposed to be gaining unity for the first time in a long, long while. Now, you're right, they should really just nip this in the bud. They should turn around and say at some point, we have to work out whether or not we're going to keep this guy and make a statement we're going to keep him, or we're going to remove him from our squad. Because this uncertainty is just affecting all of the great things that they're doing by signing all those young players, by keeping the team fresh, and by rejuvenating underneath Ole. That's not going to allow to be done to the fruition of that they want to be done to if they keep allowing these distractions to happen.
One thing's for sure, though, Anton, I'll let you carry on there. I want Pogba in the Premier League. I think he's a class act. I enjoy watching him. I want him a part of the Premier League because he's that good.
I will say, I had a fair bit of interaction with Manchester United fans yesterday on social media after talking about Paul Pogba. And it's easy to see, look, he is very unpopular with a lot of the fans. And another player who is a little bit polarising, I'd say, with Manchester United fans at the moment is Jesse Lingard as well. You know, and he's obviously been quite active on social media as well. And that Manchester United fans clearly just want more production out of their players. You know, you look at Jesse Lingard, his goals were down by 50%, his assists were down by 60%, his crosses were down by 2/3. And there was a real sense of frustration, as JD was kind of saying, that things need to move on. Otherwise, Manchester United's sort of pre-season will just turn into like a travelling circus of questions and frustrations, and that's not how you start a season.
The thing is, though, I don't know how or why it's been made out to be this sort of situation, but everybody falls out with their mates during training. I mean, they're competitive athletes, so it might have been a bad tackle, it might have been a nutmeg that's gone too far, it might even just be two people and one person's up for a joke and the other person's not. A 10-second, 2-second clip on social media can really be taken out of context and made into a whole transfer saga, when really what should be focusing on is the fact that they've signed all of these new players. Again, a lot of young players have renewed their contracts at the club, and this is Ole's first chance to really leave his implement as Manchester United manager. That's what we should be talking about.
I'd love social media in the 90s in some of those football clubs we knew. And like Republic of Ireland in Japan 2002. Oh, social media.
Can I just say one thing as well? And I do feel sorry for all of these Manchester United midfielders, and I'll tell you why. Because the benchmark for a Manchester United midfielder has been set by someone called Ryan Giggs.
Fact.
13 Premier Leagues, 2 Champions Leagues, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups. That is the benchmark to be classed as one of the greats at Manchester United. And these guys have all got to try and aspire to that. And that is tough. And that's why I feel sorry for Lingard and for Pogba and for McTominay and anyone else there, because that's the benchmark.
But you said Giggs there, you could have said Keane, you could have said Scholes, you could have said so many.
Giggs has got the most decorated.
By the way,
Giggs has got the most silverware, so I went with him.
Check out the Sky Sports football channel on YouTube, by the way, for more on this. We've also got your tweets coming in. We've got Dante, who says, you can see Pogba doesn't want to stay. He stated, him and his agent, that he wants to leave. Why are Manchester United keeping him? I love Pogba, but we've got to rebuild a new squad. It's not fair, and Ole is the new manager. to have that burden. Ollie, please sell him. We've got Liam Chalice, who says if Pogba leaves, United won't finish in the top 10.
Wow.
And there's one, Jamie Tankard says, Paul Pogba may be a world-class player, but he's more suited to Real Madrid as he plays an individual and not a team player, which historically Manchester United have relied on that team ethic, I say. So loads coming in on Manchester United, on Pogba, and of course on Tottenham with Danny Rose as well. Some news to bring you from Manchester City, though. It's a loan going out. Philippe Sandler is close to completing his loan move from Manchester City to Anderlecht. That's according to Sky sources. The Belgium club, managed, of course, by former Manchester City captain Vincent Kompany, had been in talks with City over a deal for Sandler since last week. He was in Belgium yesterday to complete the final parts of that deal.